We are joined by Kansas head coach Bill Self, along with senior center Hunter Dickinson and senior guard Dajuan Harris Jr. And we'll begin with an opening statement from Coach Self.
Well, obviously we're disappointed. I thought the first half was pretty much a horse contest, and both teams made shots, and probably from a visual standpoint, pretty fun game to watch. In the second half, we didn't make anything, and they played lights out great, and certainly put it on us bad there the second half. But proud of our guys. We fought through a lot of stuff, and everybody's got their own story, I know, but we certainly had plenty of episodes in ours, and guys hung in there and gave it all they had. We just didn't have any juice there the second half.
Thank you, Coach. And now we'll open up questions for our student athletes, please. Second row left, please.
Hey, Henry Greenstein, Lawrence Journal World. Dajuan, I'm just wondering what it was like for you guys trying to stem the tide of that run midway through the second half.
We was just trying to get stops because, the ball wasn't falling in for us in the second half, so we was just trying to get stops. They was running some good offense, so that's all it was. We just needed to get stops, and we fell short, so.
Front left, please.
Gary Bedore, Casey Star. Dajuan, what was the mood at halftime? It was quite a shootout the first half.
We went into halftime excited. We was positive. We just needed to get some stops because we was like Coach said, it was a shootout. So if we capitalized on the defensive end, I think it would have took care of itself. But like I said, we missed a lot of shots in the second half, and that's what happened. So.
Had a pretty quick turnaround. How was the fatigue today in the second half?
Hunter, I'll have you answer that, please, first.
You can't really make that excuse because, Gonzaga had to deal with the same turnaround. And so, if they were good enough to be able to go out there and play two halves, we should have been able to do the same.
Dajuan?
Yeah, what Hunt said. You can't make no excuses. You want to play in March Madness, so this is the best tournament you'll ever play in, and you can't make excuses when you want to win basketball games late in March. So.
Okay, do we have any other further questions for our student athletes? Right here, front right.
Davis Domestic, the Crimson. Question for Hunter. Committing to Kansas on May 4th of last year, and now the year wraps up here. What has this program meant to you in your time here?
Yeah, it's been, I had high expectations coming in of what it was going to be like, and, it was even better than I expected. To be able to play for Coach Self, to be able to play with these guys, just to be able to play in Allen Fieldhouse, all that stuff, it was something that, you can kind of almost dream of, when you're growing up playing basketball. To be able to play on this stage for this program, obviously it didn't go the way we wanted to, but, I had a lot of fun this year, and, I want to trade it for the world.
All right, we'll check the Zoom participants to see if there are any questions for our student athletes on Zoom. If there are, please use the raise hand button on the window, and we'll get you on. Okay, not seeing any. Are there any more questions for our student athletes here in the room? All right, we will excuse our student athletes. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks,
Congratulations on your season. And we'll now open questions for Coach Self, right here, center left.
Hey, Bill. Vahe Gregorian, Kansas City Star. As it was getting late in that game, did you find any of your thoughts turn into, for lack of a better term, the episodes and how it sort of got to this, or have you thought about that?
Oh yeah, I thought about it, but that wasn't a part of the thought process at all, Vahe. I'll probably think about some of the things that didn't go well or didn't go right this year, and some of the things that did. The bottom line is this: our program over time has taken great pride in being able to defend and rebound and doing things that are important to any team winning, but it's probably been stuff that we probably excelled in over time as much as just about anybody has. And it's disappointing today that there was absolutely no sign of being able to slow them down. They were great. Whenever we made mistakes, which we made many, they made us pay. And then when we didn't make mistakes, they found a way to still grab an offensive rebound or whatever and score a putback or whatever it was. But, Mark's team is so good offensively. And when, if you try to dissect it and say, well, what do you want to try to take away? We didn't do a good job of taking away strengths, but still yet at halftime, I thought that we were in decent shape, except for, my guys were gassed. I mean, everybody knew that at the end of the first half. I mean, my guys were gassed. I hadn't had very many times where you take a guy out and he's sitting through a 3-minute timeout, and I say, go back in. He says, I need a little bit more time. So I knew that we were tired there. And I was just hoping we had enough energy to get to the finish line, and I'm not going to blame it on energy, but I think we played very fatigued the second half.
And just sort of attached to that, I mean, a competitor that you are, I'm sure this will stick with you, but I mean, is it something you already feel like I got to start thinking about next season, or you got to absorb this for a little while?
Well, I think for the last month I've been thinking about next season, to be honest. Not in the moments during the game, but obviously we played. We had 8 guys on scholarship, and we played. I mean, that were healthy there late, and injuries are part of the game, so that's not an excuse. But we could have done a much better job as a staff, putting more guys out there that we could play, and so that's something that I've thought about for a long time. And the thing about it is in basketball, early on, you can play through some things, but the course of a season, there's a grind that goes with it, and bodies get run downs, injuries occur. That's all part of it. And when you don't have as much firepower or as that maybe you've had in past years, it certainly showed this year.
Okay, second row right.
Hey, Coach. Davis Domestic, the Crimson. Your team had to overcome a lot of adversity to get to this spot. 2 players in particular come to mind, and that's 2 freshmen, Omarco Jackson and Johnny Furphy. They're projected to return to your program next year. How have you seen them step up in the past couple of weeks and really this year?
Well, I think they've both had good years. Johnny's year has been exceptional considering what expectations were. Omarco's year probably hasn't been as good considering what expectations were. And so much of it is when you go into a situation, the expectations are so high that sometimes, you really can't do as much as you need to live up to those expectations. But they both had solid years. I think, Johnny probably had a better year than we even imagined. But they're both good prospects, and they both have a chance to be really good players.
Second row, far left.
Yeah, Bill, in the first half out of timeouts, you guys had some success like stopping runs and going on runs of your own, but didn't carry over in the second half. What do you think was different about those timeouts and what followed them?
I don't think the timeouts had anything to do with anything, first or second half. What I think had a lot to do with it, we missed a lot of shots second half, a lot of shots that you say, well, that's the same shots we made in the first half, but we missed a lot of shots. And the bottom line is we never got stops. I think they scored, I could be wrong, I think it's like 17 their first 21 possessions second half. I mean, that's a recipe for disaster regardless. And so I don't really believe that the timeouts didn't stem the tide that you would hope they would. But the bottom line, when you leave a huddle, you still got to go out and execute, and you got to make shots, and you got to get stops, and we just didn't do that at all during that. What was it? Basically from the 19-minute mark to the 8-minute mark. I mean, I don't know exactly what it was, where it went from up 4 to down 22 or 23, and it seemed like it happened so fast, and we needed 7 or 8 timeouts as opposed to just 4. But unfortunately, they wouldn't grant them.
front left, please.
Hunter dislocated his shoulder about 2 weeks ago. What did he give you in terms of toughness the last couple weeks and today's performance?
Well, I thought, this is so minor, but him getting a second foul with 1.2 seconds left stunk for us because we didn't defensive rebound the ball. If we got the rebound, obviously that didn't happen. I thought Hunt's great. His attitude, his work ethic. His body he was able to rehab it in a way that he could return, whereas Kevin tried and he couldn't. But I thought Hunt gave us everything he had. But that was one tired dude out there today. He was exhausted, after the first game. And there's no excuses, just like they said, but there wasn't much recovery time for our guys.
Looking back, do you think the quick turnaround was disappointing, or what is your take on having to play so early after a late game?
I'm not an expert on that. Of course, would we have preferred more rest? Absolutely, but I'm sure anybody would that, gets back to the hotel at 1 a.m. and you have your dinner and then you got to flip it quick. I would have loved to have been able to practice yesterday, but that wouldn't have made any difference. And when I say practice yesterday, the guys were gassed. It's not the time's fault that we had to play 40 minutes on Thursday in a fast-paced game. That's just the way that. That's just the team that we drew, and we had to fight hard to get the win. So there were some things that went into it that's different than people saying, well, the time. Gonzaga also had the time, but they played so well they didn't have to stress. So I don't think people in making the times when teams play take that into consideration. Well, this team stressed and this team didn't. So whatever time it was, it was, and I'm sure everybody that played here today wished it was moved back a couple hours or whatever it could be, but it probably couldn't be that way because that's what they decided to do.
Any more questions in the room for Coach? Okay. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate you.
All right.